Konami is releasing the best structure deck of all time. 2025 is the year of Blue Eyes White Dragon once again, thanks to the release of Structure Deck Blue Eyes White Destiny, which is in my opinion the best structure deck ever. And the reason why is because it has something for every single player. You can be a casual player, a competitive player, you can be a collector, and you will have something in this deck. How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about Structure Deck Blue Eyes White Destiny, which is releasing in just about a week's time. I'm going to talk about why I believe it's the best structure deck ever, as well as give you some cards that you should be adding in this strategy for all different price points. So if you're excited for the video and for a special sneak peek of a brand new series, then make sure to smash the like button and subscribe for more. But here's why Structure Deck Blue Eyes White Destiny is the best structure deck of all time. Now, there are many reasons why I believe this is the best structure deck of all time. So what I'm going to do is break it down by category one at a time, starting with the most important but also the simplest and most underrated, and that's going to be promos. The Blue Eyes White Destiny structure deck is going to be coming with one of three promos. Those three promos can have the chance of being secret rares or even potentially quarter century secret rares. The cards in question that can be promos are Maiden of White, Wishes for Eyes of Blue, and Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. These cards are all incredible and are great for the strategy and easily will see play in pretty much every single Blue Eyes deck. Now, we've been asking for promos and sealed product for years. Just think about it. The last time we had a really good promo in a sealed product was going to be back in the 2019 Mega Tins, where we got Nibiru, Dimension Shifter, and Dark Ruler No More, which were all world exclusive cards at the time. And now we're not getting a brand new card to the universe, but we are getting three great cards that are going to see in pretty much every deck. And the fact that you can get them not only in an upgraded secret rare, but you can also get them in a potential quarter century secret rare is a great decision on Konami's end. For the most part, if a new structure deck comes out, you fall into one of three categories. Either you don't buy the structure deck because you're not interested in it or its reprints, or you buy one structure deck because you want to have just access to some of the cards, or if you want to play the deck, you'll buy 3 copies of the structure deck, which is usually what most people will end up doing. The fact that there are promos now that come with higher rarities and potential QCRs make people more interested in buying a larger amount of these decks, which is a good thing for the people that are selling the products, being our local OTS stores. Their goal isn't to only get access to the cards they need to play the deck, but they want even more than that, so they can be able to trade them for different cards they need for their collection. And the fact that these cards come in super high rarities as well is a great decision, because people will get the opportunity to have the cards they want in the rarity they want as well. So basically, promos give the sealed deck a lot more value, which is a great thing, because most of the time these structure decks end up losing a lot of value really fast, unless there's a card that hasn't been reprinted in a long time in those decks. For example, the Cyber Strike structure deck had something like Infinite Impermanence in there, so it had a lot of value, but this deck also has Imperm, even though it's at a common rarity, but it also has so much other value because of the promos. The second reason why I believe this is a great structure deck is because of the nostalgia factor. Blue Eyes White Dragon is the most iconic monster in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh!, maybe tied for first or in second place with Dark Magician Girl. Either way, these two cards are extremely popular, and Blue Eyes White Dragon has 25 years of history behind it, which is incredible. And the fact that there are so many Yu-Gi boomers or people that are more casual who want to play these anime style decks are going to be getting access to a really competitive and good strategy, it's going to incentivize them to come back to the game, maybe play around a bit more at locals, which is going to be a good thing for your entire community. In my opinion, giving Blue Eyes a place to shine will bring more people back to the game, which is just a good thing overall. And because it's being brought in the form of a structure deck, most of the cards are already included in the deck, which means you don't have to go out of your way to buy a bunch of different cards on online platforms like TCG Player. I personally started watching the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime when I was a kid, and I loved Kaiba and the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and I'm sure most of you did as well, but it didn't really stick with me for the long run because I want to play a more competitive style of game. That being said, now that Blue Eyes White Dragon is going to be a competitive staple once again, we're going to see a lot more people come back to the game, and that's because of the nostalgia factor that Blue Eyes brings to the table. And that brings me to my third reason why this deck is so good, and that's going to be the meta impact. Structure decks almost always have a significant meta impact on Yu-Gi-Oh! We've seen it time and time again. Just look at the past 5 or so years, we've had dozens of great structure decks, and some of them are the most meta impactful decks in the format. For example, we saw structure decks like ABC, Monarch, Salamandrate, Dinosaur, Shadal, Rocket, Traptrix, Branded, Fire King most recently, and now Blue Eyes, which have all seen a ton of meta play in recent years. And for the most part, all of these decks remain incredibly popular because of the low cost to entry to play these top tier decks. The Blue Eyes deck is going to see a lot of meta play and will arguably be one of the top 5 or so best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! And because everything you need is straight in the box, you can build a competitive deck for just $30 or so. And on top of that, there are so many different ways you can play the Blue Eyes deck. If you have the money for it, you can play the Blue Eyes MattOshea deck, which is going to be incredibly expensive but really good at setting up a ton of powerful negations and is able to overwhelm your opponent quite quickly. There's the Synchro Spam deck, which takes advantage of cards like Crimson Dragon to lock your opponent out of the game, but also able to set up some really big, powerful dragon monsters. There's a control version of the deck that takes advantage of cards like the Bestials and the Primite engine as well, which is likely going to be the best way to play the deck for the time being. And of course, there's just a more pure variant of the deck, a more anime style of the deck as well, which is going to see play as well, just not as high of level. But that's not all, because not only is the strategy itself going to see a lot of meta play, but there's a singular card in this deck that's going to be brand new that will make a lot of other decks a lot better. And that single card is going to be Spirit with Eyes of Blue. This card is insane. It's the generic Link 1 for the deck that requires a level 4 or lower spellcaster or dragon monster, and I made a video about it already, and the card is insane. Not for its effect, just because it makes any dragon or spellcaster pile deck able to easily get their cards in graveyard to activate their effects. So it just inherently makes those decks better even while not intentionally trying to do so. In my opinion, if you pick up 3 of these structure decks, it's going to be one of the best bang for your buck ways to play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! For the next 6 or so months. Oh, and the deck will just keep getting better as you decide to invest more time and money into it. The next reason why this structure deck is so good is because of all the great reprints in the deck. There are so many reprints in all these structure decks that we get access to, but most of the time we see cards like Mystical Space Typhoon or Foolish Burial, which are just really low cost and not as high impactful as they once were. That being said, in this structure deck we get a ton of really high impact cards that almost every single player wants to have, whether you're casual or competitive. And those cards are going to be great across the board. Outside of the promos, the real value from the structure deck comes from all the really good reprints. And you get easy access staples to cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, Infinite Impermanence, Nibiru the Primal Being, you get 2 copies of Effect Veiler as well, and you get Called by the Grave. These 5 cards will be in pretty much every single Blue Eyes deck because they're right there in the box. And if you're thinking about picking up 3 of these structure decks, you're not only going to get access to 2 of the best hand traps in the game in Impermanent Ash Blossom, but you're going to also be able to build a really solid side deck thanks to cards like Nibiru and Veiler, while also getting to be able to protect your plays with Call by the Grave. But that's not all. The deck also comes with a ton of really good Blue Eyes adjacent cards that are getting reprints too. Most notably is going to be Sage with Eyes of Blue and True Light. These 2 cards previously had more difficult to access reprints and were getting kind of up there in price, but thanks to the reprints to these cards, you're able to play pretty much right out of the box with the best cards the deck can offer. Now obviously, if you're a player who wants to pick up a more high rarity version of all these cards, you can definitely do that thanks to Rarity Collection 1 and 2, which reprinted pretty much every single card I've mentioned so far outside of the Blue Eyes adjacent cards. That being said, some people who are just getting into the game for the first time, they get access to these cards at a really low price while also getting a full strategy. That's why this deck is so good, a combination of the engine and the non-engine that are available in the strategy. And the final reason why I believe this is the best structure deck ever is because of the cost, which might seem a little bit counterintuitive because the cost isn't anything that different from what we've seen in the past. But that's exactly the point. You get so much more bang for your buck with this particular structure deck than you would for a different one. For example, in the Fire King deck you got cards like Infinite Impermanence, but you didn't get Ash Blossom. In this one you get Nib, Ash, Veiler, you get access to all the really powerful cards in the engine, and you get access to a competitive deck right out of the box, just like Fire King. And of course I didn't even mention the promo you get in the deck as well, which is a great decision, all for pretty much the exact same price. I wouldn't have been surprised if Konami just jacked the price up significantly because of all these new changes, but in my opinion, this is a great move keeping it at the same price while also giving us all these extra cards. If you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In any way, whether casually or competitively in February, March, or April 2025, you're going to see Blue Eyes everywhere. And a lot of the time these decks are going to have some of the same cards, including cards like the Primite Engine, which is going to be one of the best ways to play this deck. It's essentially made up of cards like Primite Lordly Load and Primite Ether Barrel, as well as Primite Drill Beam. These cards allow you to create a really powerful advantage loop that also disrupts the opponent as well, and it plays really effectively with normal monsters, which the deck just has to play because you have to play your Blue Eyes cards. This is the best way to play Blue Eyes in my opinion. It's super grindy, has a lot of recovery. The issue with it is, that the deck is super expensive if you add the Primite cards in it. Primite Lordly Load alone is like $75, while Ether Barrel is $40 or more, so it ends up being a pretty costly strategy. That being said, if you want to play a more budget version, you can always play the Synchro Spam version of the deck with cards like Crimson Dragon, Stardust Cypher Dragon, and Cosmic Blazar Dragon, which are great ways to abuse the effect of Crimson Dragon and lock your opponent out of playing the game and getting you some free wins. It's also going to be incredibly common to see a ton of Bestial monsters in this format, so you want to pick up cards like Bestial Magnamut, Baldrake, Druisworm, and Saronir. Just keep in mind, Druisworm's going to be a little bit expensive because right now it's only got the 2 printings and it's really good in the format, but you don't have to play it. In reality, you definitely want to pick up your other Bestial monsters and possibly even cards like Chaos Angel to be able to easily get access to it with Light and Dark monsters. So to recap, this deck is absolutely incredible. In my opinion, it's the best structure deck of all time because of its cost, the reprints in the set, the powerful engine that you get that pairs well with the reprint cards, and the ability for it to be one of the most meta impactful strategies in the coming months. This deck is going to see a ton of play both at the casual and competitive level, and you're also getting a promo every time you buy the deck. So it's going to be a great choice if you want to play Blue Eyes in 2025. But let me know what you think about the Blue Eyes White Destiny structure deck. Is it the best structure deck ever like I say it is, or do you have a different one in mind? Let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with me and why. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and of course subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh videos. But don't go away just yet, because I have a special sneak peek of a brand new series coming on the channel happening right now. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time. The Blue Eyes White Dragon, the most iconic card in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Released all the way back in 2002, it embodies so much of what we love about the game. But it hasn't always been a competitive strategy. Fast forward to 2025 and the release of the Blue Eyes White Destiny structure deck, which will give Blue Eyes another chance to dominate competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Once again. In this series, I start with 3 Blue Eyes White Destiny structure decks and a budget of $25 a week. Using only this and my entry packs, I'll attempt to build a top tier deck and compete in some of Yu-Gi-Oh!'s biggest tournaments. Welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Budget Challenge Season 2.